نستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد قال الله تعالى بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم كيف تكفرون بالله وكنتم أمواتا فأحياكم ثم يميتكم ثم يحييكم ثم إليه ترجعون هو الذي خلق لكم ما في الأرض جميعا ثم استوى إلى السماء فسواهن سبع سماوات وهو بكل شيء عليم. Allah Ta'ala says in Surah Al-Baqarah, ayah number 28 and 29, that how can you disbelieve, takfuruna billah, disbelieve in Allah. And what is disbelieving in Allah? Disbelieving in the Quran and disbelieving in the Sunnah and disregarding it and following other than that is disbelief. When you know, when you know, is disbelief. So Allah says, كيف تكفرون بالله وكنتم أمواتا فأحياكم. How can you disbelieve in Allah when you were lifeless and then He gave you life? And He will cause you to die, then resurrect you to be returned to Him again. So in this ayah, Allah is giving us the reasoning, the rationale that how can we disbelieve in Allah when Allah is the one. Allah is saying He is the one who gave you life. It was not your sheikh. It was not anyone other than Allah. So all the credit, all the responsibility and everything that is due to Allah is for that. He is the one who gave you life, and then He will cause you to die, and then He will resurrect you again. So, and to Allah you will be returned. So with a lot of some of the things that we hear about people, they're longing to return to and be with their sheikh or their murshid or something like that. Remember, let's take this back to Allah and what Allah is saying in the Quran. Allah is the one who you will return to. Just like everyone's sheikh or parents or children or ourselves, we will be returning to Allah. And He is the one, the only one that we have to believe in. And what He has told us to believe in. This it is the only thing that will matter when you return to Him. Did you believe in Allah? And did you believe in who Allah told you to believe in, which is the messenger who Allah sent to teach you and show you how to practice your religion and what you should believe. So Allah goes on to say in ayah number 29 that هو الذي خلق لكم ما في الأرض جميعا. Allah created everything. He is the one who created everything that is on the earth for you. Everything that is on the earth, the whether it's from the ground, the trees, the air, the animals, the clouds, everything actually is created for you. Allah is telling you this, created for you. ثم استوى إلى السماء. Then He returned to the sky and made 7 heavens. سبع سماوات فسبع سماوات وهو بكل شيء عليم. And He is knowledgeable of all things. So 2 things in this ayah, and is that yes, Allah is the one who created the earth and everything on it for you to live here. So for the people who are looking for some magical place, Lahut Lamakan, or all these places, this is the place where Allah created you and created it for you to live for a certain amount of time. So, some people say, well, this is not reality and I don't want anything from the world, or I'm not even looking for Jannah. This is the wrong understanding. Allah created this earth for us to live for a time, mata'un, something as a provision, something that we can use for provision to live for a time before, as the ayah before says, that we return to Him. But everything is created for us. We don't need to reject the world and denounce the world. We use it to make things easy for us to obey Allah and to worship Allah. And we'll use it to make it through this life to get to the next life. So this extreme, even a lot of the things that people say, as far as some of the Sufis say, we don't want to. We're denouncing the world. We're not going to take certain benefits that even are halal. We don't want anything to do with it. This is the wrong thing. Allah is telling you directly in this ayah, He made everything here for you. It's for you. Uh, and so keep that in mind. And then the end of the ayah when Allah says, وَهُوَ بِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ عَلِيمٌ. Allah is, and He is the one who has knowledge of all things. This is one of the attributes of Allah.
Hmm.
Allah says He is the one. هُوَ الَّذِي بِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ عَلِيمٌ. He is the one who has knowledge of everything. He's the one. No one else has this characteristic. It's for Allah alone. So if you call on a person that's not there, doesn't have the ability, doesn't have the knowledge of everything, you're expecting a person to know the past, present, and future, and all these things. They're making predictions and all these things. This is not in keeping in line with what Allah is saying. He's the one who has knowledge of all things. It's not your sheikh or your dad or your brother or us. We don't know. No one knows the land in which they will die, when Qiyamah will come, when Imam Mahdi will come, when Isa ibn Maryam will come, or any of those things. Allah is the one who has the knowledge of these things. And Allah didn't share it with anyone. And if someone says that they have it, so that means they had the knowledge of it even before Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Say something.
So I said,
It's not even it's laughable to even think.
Mm.
So let's keep this attribute of Allah in mind and know that Allah is the one who is all knowledgeable, all knowing, knows what you're doing inside of your homes. If Allah didn't tell you that your wife should cover inside the home because He knows what you're doing there and can see it, so how can someone who doesn't even have that should automatically strike a red flag in your mind?
Hmm.
That this person is trying to act as if they have the attributes of Allah. The only way that a person can actually have the knowledge of what you're doing inside your home is if they are working with maybe a video camera or something like that, or the shayateen, the jinns, who go into your home and tell them and bring them the news.
Yep.
But Allah is the one who is knowledgeable of everything. Keep this in mind. This attribute is for Allah alone, and no one else has it but Him. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. تفضل
Alhamdulillah.
شيخ.
Shukran for opening up our show with those ayats and explanation. And one thing that reminded me when you were talking is the hadith that a lot of Sufis or people that claim to be of Tasawwuf use is the hadith of. We've seen a video of it. It was posted in a room about what ihsan is. You know, the hadith where Angel Jibreel came and explained what Islam is, Iman is, and what ihsan is. And Sufis will use that to, like, we're trying to get ihsan, we're trying to get this higher level of Islam, but it's stereotypical that these same people also claim to have special knowledge of, like, the last day, but they ignore the rest of the hadith where Angel Jibreel asked Rasulullah sallam, when's the last day, and he's like, I don't know more than you know. So it's like they pick up on certain parts to promote their ideology, then ignore whole other sections of ayats or hadith that goes against other parts of their ideology. So today we're gonna have to call this like the Black Summer, because we're doing the Black Book pretty much all summer long.
yeah,
um,
unfortunately.
yes, and it's kind of it's painful to go through, but at times it's entertaining as well. So we're only on page 7. We're probably gonna try to get through page 7 and 8. But the reason why it's going slow, especially at the beginning, is because this book is littered with shirk, number one, um, uh, Islamic issues, number two, and just straight up contradictions and lies. And so we're trying to point them all out. Again, if anybody has any questions or concerns or wants to challenge us or correct us or whatever, feel free to contact us or come on the show yourselves. Um, and yeah, that's it. So we're gonna get right into it. We only got like an hour, so we're gonna jump right into it and I'll share the book so people can see the pages. Let me get that going right now. And again, if you have any questions, observations, or anything, feel free to type it in the chat. Here we go. Okay. All right. Can everybody see that now? I might need to zoom in on it a little
Yeah,
bit.
I see it.
Okay. All right. So, what's the first thing we have? We're on page 7, and the first note I have is he claims Allah spoke to the companions of the cave directly.
Hmm.
And I wanted to check with Mubarak, who's a resident Quran tafsir. Um, um, I guess I would say I don't want to say expert because then people's gonna get down on him.
Not
Right,
an expert, not an
right.
expert. I
But
was getting up. My temperature started rising. I started sweating when you
yeah, I was like, gotta be
yeah,
careful what we say on this show.
no, 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 no.
But it's right here where he talks about he tries to set up this whole thing about Allah talks to people,
Hmm.
which we know if we go to the Quran, we know Allah talks to messengers, right? That's what qualifies you to be a messenger is Allah speaks to you. But then he tries to bridge the gap and say Allah talks to regular people too by using Isa bin Maryam's Mary, and the companions of the cave. And let me see a highlight right. So here's the part about the companions of the cave right here. And he has not ceased speaking directly, but then he qualifies it and says in the shape of Ilham. So one thing that popped up to me is like you see this a lot in people that are trying to confuse you is Ilham by definition is not directly speaking to Allah, right? Ilham means inspiration, right? Allah inspires people through dreams, angels coming to you in the dreams. However, just like he inspired Musa alayhi salam's just like he inspired Mary through angel Jibrail came. So and then he defines ilham as direct communication from Allah, Almighty Allah, which is not the actual definition of ilham. Even if you go to the Sufi circles, that's not what ilham is. And we have, I think we did whole videos on this concept of ilham, what it is, the correct Islamic understanding of ilham. As Muslims, Sunni Muslims, we do believe in ilham. We do believe in Allah inspiring people even after the Prophet. Not it's not revelation. It's not Allah coming down and directly having a conversation with them. It's just inspiration that Allah sends through His angels, through dreams or whatever, to inspire the Muslims to do what is right. It's not direct communication with Allah, as if direct communications mean you're having a conversation with Allah, and that is reserved for the prophets. And I don't know the exact ayah, but it's in the Holy Quran, and we've
Yeah.
covered it multiple times.
Now, and I also looked. I looked up that section that talked about the companions of the cave, and I
Hmm.
looked at the tafsir. There is absolutely no references
Mm,
from the Mufassirin as far as Allah speaking directly to the companions of the cave or anything like that that I could find.
right.
So where this person got it from, as we say, the proof is on the claimant. So if he's making this claim, he has to prove it. And the first principle, one of the first principles of seeking knowledge is that your sheikh, your teacher, is not a hujjah. He's not a proof in and of himself because
Right.
he said
Yeah.
his statement requires proof. That goes for everyone. The only ones whose statement does not require proof is the statement of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi
So
Wasallam,
it's not.
So some.
because Allah is his proof. Allah
Yeah.
has made him the messenger. And so once he's confirmed as the messenger, whatever he says, and Allah confirmed him, his proof is that Allah said, وَمَا يَنْتِقُ عَنِ الْحَوَىٰ إِنْ هُوَ إِلَّا وَحْيٌ يُوحَىٰ. He
Yeah.
doesn't speak from his own desires. It is a revelation that's been revealed to him. He's been inspired to speak by Allah, and he only speaks the truth. So everyone else has to base whatever they say. That means everybody else is based on the evidence, which is the Quran and the Sunnah. Otherwise, you can actually and you should reject it if it doesn't have any basis, or you can't use it, for belief or for aqidah or to get any sort of blessings or reward from Allah
Hmm.
for. And really, you should avoid it because it could get you punished.
Mm,
And so that's where you deal with that. There's no evidence. There's no evidence for them speaking to the companions for Allah speaking to the companions of the cave. And so therefore, this the author here should it's a mistake on his part, unless there's some information that we don't know. But as we talked about last week, that allegedly this has not brought anything new, and everything is in accordance with the Quran and Sunnah, so we should be
Yep.
able to easily find it if
Yeah,
it's there.
easily.
It
Yeah.
should be referenced here in the book actually. Like it should be on the page, like Quran verse 5, Surah 5 verse 42, something like that. So generally, like as we always mention, like with academics and scholarly, you have to have either citations on the page or footnotes.
Yeah.
And which he has neither here inside this book. So I mean, I can say anything anyone said, but have to prove it to be true. Like when he mentions about the four schools of jurisprudence and how they agree upon this, right? And say that this is the thing. Okay, show me where that's being said.
Right.
Show me the direct quote from Imam Abu Hanifa or Imam Hanbali. Like so, yeah, it's
Exactly.
very
And
lazy work.
you know what would be like a good thing to do if anybody has time to do it, audience, you guys can do this as well and send it to us and we'll post the information. But to get a book that was published in 1980 from actual scholars in 1980, 1981, and just do a comparative analysis of like how they reference stuff, how they provide the ayats, how they provide the hadith, the source of the hadiths, and not just like right now, like I, I'm not a scholar. I'm a layman. I'm like a low level student knowledge, right? I could right now write the same quality bull crap without any references. Just make like in the Quran it says X Y Z, and there's an ayat that means this, right? With no references to any ayat to hadith or whatever, just vaguely saying stuff off the top. Anybody could do this,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's very lazy. Like even a person was that was really trying to pose as a scholar would at least like go and look up these things to try to like provide the ayat, provide if they're going to misconstrue a hadith, at least like this is in Sahih Bukhari, I'm going to give a whole different meaning to it, but at least it sells it a little bit more,
Yeah,
right? And plenty of fraudulent sheikhs have done that and continue to do that. This book doesn't even put the effort in or have the respect for the people that they're selling this bullcrap to even put in that effort of I'm going to provide some references to something.
at
Not
all.
a single reference.
And the only time like I can understand like because in scholarly circles it's like hey if it's common knowledge you don't have to cite sources, right? So if you just say like okay one for your brother, which one for yourself, everyone knows the hadith, so
Hmm.
it's common knowledge, you don't have to cite that. Cool, we know it's true. But when it's not common knowledge you can't just let's say that all this is true, let's say that all this was in some fairy tale world all this is true, right?
Yep.
um that's not common knowledge for a majority of people that read this book, so you
Right.
have to tell us where it comes from. So that's just the onus burden is upon the author of this book,
Yep.
which he did not do.
And Amr had mentioned how he claims that the four schools of thought agree with this. Again, no reference, just making empty claims. But here we get into like where he's actually making Akida issues and stuff that if you look into Sunni Islam, the standard. Why does it keep going black like that?
It's fine.
Okay, so if you look into
There you go.
just if you're even like because a lot of people try to make this into about like it's a Sufi, Salafi, Wahhabi type thing. No, go to your Sufi, authentic Sufi sources and see what they say, because he says he testifies. He testifies like he's making an oath.
Yep,
He's making an
truly.
oath that it's really sad. It's really scary because he says, "I testify that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam,
Yeah.
right, the messengers and his ummah is the best amongst mankind." Okay, so that's right. Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
Right, the
Here
best
comes
of
the yeah.
mankind. We know
Hmm.
this. We know Rasul is the best of the prophets. We know Rasul's ummah is the best ummah. We know the companions of the prophet are the best generation. We know this. We should know this. And so this is part of his testification. Truly, the holy messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam
So,
has spoken that his awliya, his saints, the saints shall be equal in rank with the messengers of the past.
nope. Absolutely
This
not.
is not true. This
Hmm.
is a lie. This is a lie, and we should all know the hadith of what Rasul says when someone who lies on what I said. And not
Hmm.
only did he just tell the lie, he actually made an oath
Yep.
to the lie. This
Hmm.
goes against Sunni Islam 100%. Because
Mm-hmm.
anybody, even all the Sufis who buy into like there's awliya and there's saints and special people, fine. Yes, we do know this as Muslims. Like, yes, there are special Muslims. The law is favored and all this. We don't know who they are. Only Allah knows. But we all know that they do not equal the least of the prophets. Out of the
So
124,000 that have existed at the time, though the least one of them, whoever that is, they're not even the dust on their shoes.
so I mean, think about this. Let's think about this on two levels. Number one is to say that a saint, okay, uh, which could be, the messengers are a select few, right? They are the cream of the crop, and then the cream of that crop, and that they're like the pinnacle. That they're the very best people of their generation, of their area, of their time. They're the very, very, very best. There's very few of them compared to the masses. There's not you're not there's not like it's not like a 2-to-1 ratio where you for every two people that's a messenger. No,
Right.
it's not even 1,000,000 to 1. Allah knows best. It may not even be 1,000,000,000 to 1,
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
or even more than that. So it's very, very, very few. Now, if you go to Pakistan or India, this in this area, and it's not just them, in Africa too, and in places in Asia and Egypt and places, but if just because the sheikh is a Pakistani or whatever, I mean a Pakistani. So if you go there, there is a sheikh claiming, or his followers claiming, that they're a saint on every corner almost.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So what you're doing is, it's just like I don't know who we were talking to. Maybe I was talking to another guy. I don't know. If we were talking to someone else. But basically, if it's not exclusive, like if everybody has the ability, just like for instance, if everyone in the NBA could shoot with an accuracy 3-point shooter as Steph Curry, he would be just
Average.
average. He'd
Yep.
be
Yeah.
average.
Right.
So the more people who are equal in rank, it makes that rank not as exclusive, as
Right.
high. And
Mm-hmm.
and so that's one thing that they're doing. If they having all these prophets and the saints, I mean, there's a saint, you know, for pretty much every 10 people, someone is claiming that their sheikh or whatever is a saint.
Mm-hmm.
So for that would be like Allah basically sends the messengers and carefully selects messengers specifically from amongst the people at the time and a different thing. And then, oh well, this handful of saints you can just throw in there are also
Yeah.
equal to them. It doesn't make sense.
Yep.
It doesn't make sense. So
And
go ahead.
yeah, so there's one saint that all Sufis agree on. Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jilani,
Mm-hmm.
right? So much so that they many of them say that if your like silsila doesn't trace back through him somehow, you're not even like a real like Sufi group, right? He said his quote off his statement is, and someone could correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe he was asked about Muawiyah, right? And now we
Mhm.
know, like for certain groups, like Muawiyah is like some people even curse him. Mubarak Jalani being one of them,
Mm-hmm.
curse Sahaba, right? And we don't have to get into all the fitna or whatever, but as someone that for Sufi circles that they look down on Muawiyah, Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jalani said, "I'm not worth the dust underneath his sandal." So here's one like Wali or saint that you guys claim is telling you, "I'm not even worth the dust of the sandal of a Sahaba that you guys even look down upon." How is he going to get to the level of the prophets? Just use your common sense. Not to mention just like straight up, this is straight up against like these types of things. If you believe them, like if you were in a Muslim country to establish Sharia, if you believed this and promoted this, like this would take you outside the fold of Islam.
Yep.
Very simple.
Yeah. So
And
I
to
mean, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, and to piggyback like off what you guys were saying, you can tell this is a fabrication because once again, and I am the most rudimentary, like entry level student of knowledge. There has to be a chain of narration. So just because the author of the book, Mark Delani, says that I testify this to be true, that's great. You were born in 1920s or something. You have to have your narration go back 1,300 years or something like
Yeah.
1,400 years before this to actually be accurate. It can't just be you randomly one day saying this is true. That's not how it
Mm.
works. No,
That's a good, yeah, that's
yeah,
a good catch because he's saying I testify. Like,
yeah.
who
Who are
cares if
you?
you're
Yeah,
testifying?
yeah,
Like,
Yeah.
who are you?
yeah.
So he is violating the first principle. He's making himself a hujjah. He's making himself an evidence or a dalil for, like,
Hmm.
I mean, you didn't meet Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. You were not one of the companions. I mean, you didn't, and unless he's saying, well, basically he does say later on, as we know that he speaks to Allah. But the thing is, another thing that the detractors would say, and we have to make sure that we do this, is we have to cut off their angles in which they
Yeah.
come from
Hmm.
when they say it. So this is the way they're going to think. Um, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. The thought just ran from my
What? So
mind.
how they defend this?
I got it. So what they will say is the translation. This is one way they get you. They say, well, this is a
Hmm.
translation. Okay, and you have to look at the maybe. And first of all, these people most of the time they don't know Urdu, they don't know Persian, they don't know Arabic,
Yeah.
and their English is questionable sometimes.
Right.
So for them to try to go with the language card, this was translated for you. Okay, the
Hmm.
translation or the author or whatever he is writing this, and these words were chosen to give you the essence and the understanding of what the original text or whatever, or that whatever he's basing this information on is for you. So
Yeah.
for the people who will say, well, when it says the holy messenger has spoken that his awliya, saints, shall be equal in rank with the messengers of the past. So we can prove that this is not true.
Hmm.
And even in Quran, even in Surah An-Nisa, it talks about one of the ayahs in Surah An-Nisa. It slips on rhyme right now, but it talks about how the people who follow the Quran and the Sunnah and do righteous deeds, and they're the true believers or whatever, they will be in the company,
Mm.
and they will because what it was is what the hadith was talking. One of the Sahaba who he was sad because he realized the level that Rasulullah SAW was at, but he loved him so much, and he was sad because he said, I am not going to be able to reach your rank in Jannah. So
Right.
once you get to Jannah, even if I make it, I'm not going to be anywhere near you. I'm nowhere near your level. I can't, but I want to be with you. And basically, what Allah was saying in the ayah and what it was explained by Rasulullah SAW, that
So
you will be amongst the ones you love.
yes.
That doesn't mean you have an equal rank. You know what I mean? You can sit somewhere sitting with your son. Are you equal in rank with your son?
Hmm.
No, but he's with you, and you
Right.
keep him with you, and just like when you're with your father, you're not equal in rank, but you are can be amongst them, and this is the way it is. So I can hear it in my mind right now. The defenders will say, "Oh, it's a translation, and you have to understand it's not. You can't take everything literal." We have to go by what's on the page. And
Hmm.
it says what is said on the page
Hmm.
is shirk, and it's wrong. Him testifying, he's a liar. Okay.
Hmm.
If he's testifying that he's a liar, if we take the literally what's on the page, okay. And if you want to say that it's due to the language barrier or something like that, the translation, or, then this person should not be addressing English speakers.
Exactly.
Yep.
You can't
Exactly.
follow him because the
Exactly.
information is inaccurate.
Hmm.
It's only one or the other. He's a liar, and what he said it was kufr and takes you outside of Islam, or he can't be followed by a person who only understands English. And if
Hmm.
you only understand English, you're not going to be able to actually get accurate information. You won't know
Yeah.
because looking at the translation,
Yeah.
it says something that's outside of Islam. Take the
Yeah.
defense. Well, it's a translation, maybe misworded. You don't understand. You gotta understand. All right, then throw the book out
Muskiller.
the window. You can't
Muskiller.
follow it. Yeah, yeah.
So
Um,
and this is why I think, like, even going back to the point, let me go back up a little bit where, yeah, it's right there. So you have to ask yourself when you're reading this, we know shaitan's involved. right? So it doesn't matter what Mubarak Jelani's intentions were, whether he actually believed this stuff, whether Shaitan deluded him and was giving him we don't know any of that. We don't know, like, if he purposely was like, you know what, I'm gonna scam these dudes. We don't know. But when you look at stuff like the setup, right? So the first sentence above what's highlighted, where he said, "I sallallahu alaihi wasallam,
So
the messengers and his ummah is the best amongst mankind," right? This statement is true, but depending on how you interpret it, it could be false. Because what he did is just equate all of them. You see,
Hmm.
like, yes, we are the best, but we know that there's, like, person that knows there's levels. Like, yeah, we're the best ummah, but we are not equal to the messengers of the past. We are not equal to Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, right? But that
Hmm.
right there sets your mind up for what he says next, which is like, okay, so if the ummah of Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is is equal or in the same, like, wheelhouse of the messengers of the past and Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, then of course the best of the ummah, which would be the saints, the walis, are equal to the messengers of the past. So, like, when I see these things, I question myself, like, is he like a mad scientist with this? Like, he knows exactly what he's doing to manipulate. We know Shaitan's a mad, like, we know Shaitan knows what he's doing, but that's the mental trick that happens right there. Is when people read that, they don't even realize that they're being set up for, like, basically that last sentence to so it goes down easier. They're putting a little sugar in with the cough syrup, right?
Hmm. Yeah, and trying to include you, and sometimes flattery. They go ahead and include you the ummah, because yeah, we're all part of the ummah of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So I get to think, yeah, maybe I am. No, no, listen, no one in this ummah is going to be beside Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is going to be able to say that they are on the same level or better than Musa alayhi salam or Harun or any the messenger of God. So the ummah altogether is the best,
Yep.
because we have the messenger who's the best.
So he's
So
best.
we're really being carried along by him. So that's number
Yeah.
one. And the companions, his companions, who Allah testified in Quran that they are the best people raised up from amongst mankind.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as the people, that doesn't mean they're better than the messengers.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as the people around Rasulullah, yeah, they're the best. There's not going to be any companions of a messenger that are better than them, and there's no one in the ummah who is going to be better than them, because Allah said they are the best.
Yep.
So your sheikh, who was born in 1925 or whatever in India, is not. Never, whether he claims sainthood or not, is never going to be comparable in any way to the Sahaba or any messengers of the past, for that matter.
Yep. And so I want to just refer people to the sources. They don't want to do your own research, right? There are two things you can look up, right, that are basically acceptable in the Ummah. There's Aqidah Tahawiyah, right, which is basically like a summarized version of what Muslims believe. It'll say this very specifically in there. You can go to Fiqh Akbar, which is either it's attributed to some people attribute it to Imam Abu Hanifa, and some people attribute it to his students. But it'll say this specifically in there that the saints, Muslims, there's nobody higher than the prophets. Pretty much, we're not equal to them. So the next thing that comes up on this book is he starts trying to establish, because this right here, actually, after we debunk this paragraph, it kind of debunks the rest of the book, because the book is pretty much a compilation of people saying they went to go talk to Allah and Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. That's pretty much what it is. People's narrations of how they talk to Allah and Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And here he's trying to establish that this is something that is possible to happen. So he says, I testify that Allah, Almighty Allah, does manifest his essence. Remember, pay attention. He's capitalizing everything that has to do with Allah. Allah Almighty, his essence. This comes into play later when we get to the Risala Ruhi thing. Either in a symbolic form and shows himself in a manner befitting the occasion and the caliber of the beholder. And then he goes to talk about, the famous incident of Musa alayhi salam and the burning bush, right? And he basically is saying that, that burning bush was a manifestation of Allah's essence. And then he goes on to say, similarly, Almighty Allah. Well, first, if Mubarak, if you're on, if you have time, if you're, I know you just stepped away for a second, but when you get back on, if you can hear me, I want you to address the whole burning bush thing, right? Because he's basically trying to establish that the burning bush was actually the manifestation of Allah's essence, right? Which I'm pretty sure that is not the Islamic understanding of what the burning bush was. But then he goes on to compare. He says, similarly, Almighty Allah sometimes addresses his talibin, seekers, um, while he manifests himself in some form of light or some human like beardless, symbolic, youthful form, exceedingly beautiful with overpowering awe. Now, I want to ask you, Amr, if I came to you and said, Allah manifests himself as a little boy, how would you feel about that?
I would think that Sheikh Jafar has become Majnun. And then I would wonder what happened to you, where you came to this conclusion, or how you came to this conclusion. But I do know you, so I would ask you to, of course, verify your sources and tell me
Mhm.
where you got it from. Um, and yeah, it would be like, Sahi, just trust me. And I would be like, yeah, nah, nah, I can't roll with that, you Sheikh. So yeah, I'll be confused. Or utterly
Um,
confused.
um,
Assalamualaikum.
sorry about that. I had to take care of something.
No, you're
But
good.
what else does it? What else does it remind you of? I mean, Allah manifesting Himself as a beardless boy, whatever. Just, I mean, if we can just, I mean, this is like,
It
hey, listen.
reminds me of the Greek mythology I had to read in high school about Zeus
Mhm.
coming down and turning into human forms or birds or whatever and messing around with the lowly humans to play around. That's what it reminds me of, right?
Mhm. Yeah. But it's like Islam came and it's distinct from all the other religions. Like it's very clear. And when you start having concepts that sound really eerily familiar and almost exactly like the concepts that are in religions that Allah has clearly refuted in Quran. So what I'm getting at is the fact that to say that Allah is manifesting as a boy, a man, or anything like that, this is what the Christians say.
Hmm.
Hmm.
This is what the Christians say.
Yeah.
I mean, how are we how are we back here? This is what I don't understand. Like how it should automatically, and so I mean for the people who either really didn't practice or know Christianity, and, or for like myself was born Muslim, but if I didn't wasn't really grounded in Aqidah or Tawheed, I guess it might you might get me. But for people in our parents' generation who they were they were Christians, and they know it like the back of their hands. And to hear this and to read it and see Allah manifesting like a beardless boy or whatever, it should automatically take you there. You should be like, no, 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 no. This is what I left already. And so that's the trick. Shaitan really, and this is why Allah says that Shaitan will have no power over his righteous slaves. He will won't have any power over the believers as long as they follow, what Allah and His Messenger say. So Shaitan, he has to use the same plays. He's using the same playbook, the same little tricks and stuff. And it's like the ultimate goal is to get you to commit shirk. And to commit shirk is to attribute to Allah, make Allah like His creation, make the creation like Allah, try to mix it, try to join it,
Hmm.
try to give people the attributes of Allah and these things like that. So you have to look at it and automatically train your ear, your mind to know this is clearly an attempt by Shaitan to get you to believe it and to commit shirk. Who he uses to get you to commit shirk could be anyone. It could
Yeah.
be your parents. It could be your sheikh. It could be, your neighbor. Could be your teacher at school or whatever the case may be. But you have to know that the ultimate goal of shaitan is to get you to believe in and to commit shirk.
Yes.
And this, to believe this, is shirk, 100%.
Assalamu alaikum, Uncle. Welcome to join us. Did you have any comments that you wanted to share with us?
Uh, I'm muted. Do I?
No, I
Now,
got you. You're on now.
You,
You're good.
you know,
Yeah, I was just listening to Mubarak's explanation, and it's kind of like right on because I think that one of the reasons why it was so easy for a lot of us to accept this is because we come from Christianity,
Mm,
so we still have that Christianity concept.
yeah.
And I was talking to um, an elder that never got down with Sheikh Jelani,
Hmm.
and he was telling me that a lot of the administrators that did join Jelani in the beginning were Catholics,
Oh,
and
okay.
the influence from Catholicism,
Mm.
and if you look at the saint thing and you look at
Saints
all of
and all
that,
that. Yep.
it's very similar.
Mm.
And like Rasulullah Sallam at times would tell the Sahaba, and we were talking about this earlier when we were dealing with racism, but it's the
Hmm.
same thing. Rasulullah Sallam would tell us some of the Sahaba that when like they would say something and it would be contrary to Islam, and he would always reflect that this is Jahiliyyah,
Yeah.
right? He would remind them that this is the Jahiliyyah that you used to have coming out of you.
Hmm.
And I think that we didn't have anybody to tell us that.
Yeah. And to add to it, like this is in one page, and I want like some people who have a little bit of knowledge, the rebuttal to this is they'll say, well, there's a hadith that refers to Allah manifesting Himself in the form of a beardless boy, right? Which there is, I say in quotes, there is a narration. I'll say because it's it's a known fabrication. It is a again. I'm going to repeat this. It's a known fabrication. So again, on two instances on this one page, you have you have Mubar Jalani. One, he lied about Rasul Sallallahu saying that the saints are equal to prophets, and he's also using fabricated hadith to support this idea of Allah manifesting Himself in a beardless boy. You guys can research this yourselves. Go look it up. It's very clear, right? It's right on the same page. So, like Mubarak, when you stepped away, I was asking about like the concept of because to support all this, basically what he's trying to say is that Allah manifests Himself and not like where we see like where like he puts a veil between him and his creation and like he said no, Allah manifests Himself, His actual essence to human beings, and He uses the incidents of Musa alayhi salam with the burning bush, referring to the burning bush as Allah's actual essence manifested in this world. Now, what is the Islamic concept, or how do we understand Musa alayhi salam encounter with the burning bush and Allah speaking to him and at that case?
so we can look right at the tafsir. It's in Surah Al-Qasas. Okay, so the Qasas is almost, it gives you a majority or a good portion of the story of Musa alayhi salam, including the when he went and spoke to Allah. Uh, where the burning bush, where he left after he did his term
Mm-hmm.
for the mahar for his wife. He the 8 to 10 years working for his father-in-law, and then he left. He went back to Egypt, and then on the way is the account where the burning bush. We know the story, but I'm just going to read you the tafsir, and this comes from Tafsir Ibn Kathir, what he said. So the meaning, and when Allah spoke, "O Musa, verily I am the Lord of all that exists," meaning the one who is addressing you and speaking to you is the Lord of all that exists, the one who does what he wills, the one apart from whom there is no other God or Lord. May he be exalted and sanctified. The one who by his very nature, speaking about Allah, the one who by his very nature attributes, words, and deeds are far above any resemblance to his creation. May he be glorified. So it's there's there's no even the fire is a creation.
Hmm.
You know, Allah just created the fire. He created, so to say Allah's, this is like, think about it. The pagans used to believe that the their gods were in the trees. That's where the term knock on wood comes from, right? When
Mm.
you ever see people, they knock on wood, they tap on wood. That comes from where, when they went and would try to want to speak to their what they thought were their gods, or
Hmm.
speak to Allah, they would go and knock on a tree. Literally, they would go
Mm.
by knock on a tree, bang, 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 knock on a tree, and then start talking, start making their dua or whatever. So that's how they kind of like woke him up, or kind of like that. That's how they started.
Yeah.
That was their like Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim or whatever. So you gotta. So nowadays, even I tell people today, even some Muslims, you will catch them. When we were around conference and they're like, oh, if they say something like hope it doesn't rain today, and then they'll be like, knock on wood. They will almost like, if you ever see them, maybe this is in the South, they do it more than
No,
where y'all
yeah,
at.
happens up here too. Yep.
But they almost will come and get in a panic trying to find some wood to knock
Yeah.
on. Yeah, they like
Yeah.
this. Oh, you better knock on some wood, and I'm like, I'm not knocking on no wood. You know what I mean? I mean, if an emergency is gonna come in, it's coming, and if
Yeah.
we're gonna have a good night, it's gonna happen. There's nothing we're gonna say that's gonna all of a sudden we need to knock on wood, otherwise we're gonna get. But the
Yeah.
point is, this concept to knock on wood, if we do it, it's shirk. And if we believe that us knocking on some wood or not knocking on some wood has any effect, it is shirk.
Mm.
And this is associating partners with Allah, because this is not part of Islam. It's Allah is not in the trees. He is not. The tree is not part of the tree. Doesn't have any significance. And
So.
likewise, the fire is a creation. If Allah used the fire, as for the reason of speaking to Musa, that's one thing. But to say that Allah is, his manifestation is a fire, no. This is trying to bring Allah closer and join him with the creation. It's just one step. It might
Hmm.
seem small, like, well, why can't it be the manifestation of Allah? Because it's not. It's the creation, and Allah has already told us, "Laysa kamithlihi shay." There's nothing like him. So he's not part. That he's above and beyond the creation, and we don't know. Allah did not show us Himself. He did not
Yeah.
tell us what He looks like or anything like that. So we can't go there. He used the fire, okay, and to speak to Musa alayhi salam, but it wasn't a thing where, okay, Allah manifested Himself to the fire. Allah says in other parts of the Quran that if He were to manifest Himself, nothing would be able to withstand it. So I
So
mean
let me
that.
give you the rebuttal that you often hear from TMWave people, and it's very similar to, like, if you watch any of these Islamic videos online, they're flooded with Muslims giving dawah to Christians, and you hear the same rebuttals at how we just destroy all their arguments very easily. But it's the same type of rebuttal. So you'll talk to somebody in TMOA and tell them this, then they'll say, "Are you saying Allah can't manifest Himself as fire? Are you
Mhm.
limiting Allah's power? Allah's all powerful. He could do what He wants." So how do you respond to that if we're talking to a TMWA member who takes this path of argumentation?
I mean, it's Allah can do whatever He wants, but Allah is His Majesty. His station is above doing certain things. There's certain things, even you as a human being, there's certain things you're not going to do. Can you? Can you eat out of the toilet? Can you? Yeah, you
Mm-hmm.
can. But will you? You're above that. You would
Yep.
never, like, no, you're never going to do that. So for Allah to mix with and become part of and assimilate with and become one with His creation
Mm-hmm.
is asinine.
Yep.
You wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
If you built a computer, You built the computer, right? And then it had some sort of issue or whatever. Are you going to turn yourself into like a motherboard or something to then try to fix the issue? I mean,
No.
it just doesn't make sense, you know? And so it's not even a logical thing.
Hmm.
We ourselves as human beings, as just regular people, have certain standards we're never going to go below. It
Yep.
doesn't matter. We'll die before we do it.
Hmm.
And
So for
it's real, and especially as Muslims, it's actually an easier argument because in Islam there's certain things that we're supposed to accept, right?
Mhm.
So like we know, just like you said, Allah is above certain things. One thing that Allah is above is lying, right?
Hmm.
A person lies because there's some kind of fear or some
Yes.
kind of Allah does not have to lie for anything, right? So we
Yep.
know He's telling us the truth. So when Allah tells us certain things about Himself, we have to believe Him, right? So when Allah says, I don't mix in my creation, I'm above everything, there's
Yep.
nothing like me, that means nothing we see or anything is actually going to be Allah's essence. Nothing
Exactly.
at all, right? We can't comprehend it, right? And then also, we could use the same argument that we use with Christians, right? We ask Christians, okay, if Jesus, alayhi salam, was God, did did Isa fall asleep? Did he use the bathroom? Did he need to eat? Did he eventually die on the cross according to you guys?
Hmm.
Is that something? Can God die? Right? If
Yeah.
this was Allah's essence, the burning fire was actually Allah's essence. I mean, it must have went out. It must have disappeared.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does Allah? Would
Yeah.
Allah extinguish? Would Allah disappear? Would Allah go away? No.
Nope.
Right? It
And
would
to
So
still
the
be burning there.
so you're saying that parts of Allah's essence, increases and decreases. I mean, this is the thing. You're getting way, and this is what Shaitan wants you to do. He wants to get you to try to understand and figure out and try to rationalize Allah, but Allah is beyond your comprehension.
hmm
He's
Mhm.
above that. He's above us. We're never going to be able to get to some sort of level where we can, level up or
Yep.
get to where Allah is. No, we're the creation.
Yep.
And we have to humble ourselves and submit ourselves. This is one of the things Shaitan couldn't humble himself and he couldn't submit to what Allah was saying. And for us to want to find a way to think that we're going to become one with Allah. Are you crazy?
Yeah.
I mean, you wouldn't even want to become one with another human being.
Hmm.
If another human being wanted to become one with you, you would reject it outright. No, you ain't
Hmm.
becoming one with me.
Yeah.
So you think you're going to become one with Allah? I mean, it doesn't make sense.
Yep. And to piggyback off of you guys, like from a Muslim standpoint, why would a law need intercession or intermediary between you and someone else? Like, if the whole book you have here, Mark Devine, is about Allah talking to people directly, why would he have to go to a bush or a tree or whatever? He can speak to you directly. Allah can, like
Hmm.
that. That's the whole point of the book. So there's no need for him to talk to a bush or a tree or a bird, anything.
Yeah.
So like none of this is necessary. And as Muslims, okay, listen, if Allah can talk to someone directly, then yeah, he can just speak to me directly. It doesn't have to be through like anything else. You can pray to Allah directly every day. I don't see the need for a bush or anything else to intercede or be in the way where you can have a direct link to God. That's the whole point of this book, right?
Yeah. I mean, the tree, or Allah speaking through a burning bush. I mean, this is what Allah. This is the truth. This is what Allah said that He used when speaking with Musa alayhi salam.
Mm-hmm.
But if it was, but so if Musa alayhi salam, who was better than anyone, that is talking about this, Allah speaking to them, and Musa alayhi salam needed some sort of, Allah used the bush as as a means or as a way. I don't even want to try to get into explaining,
Yeah.
Allah used the bush, okay?
Right.
But these people are just they just talking to Allah directly. So
Yeah.
everyone else, like, there's like, I mean, it's like a
Above you,
real
so
serious
yeah.
thing. So when
Yeah.
Rasulullah,
Yeah,
when
above you.
he went up and spoke to Allah, I mean, it was like it was in a serious thing. He went to, on the
Yeah.
ascension and went up, and then
All the
Jibril
prophets
alayhi
were.
salam
Yep.
couldn't go any further, and all that,
Yep.
all the stuff that went
Yep.
through. But for your sheikh, your random person, he gets, oh yeah, I'm about to just talk to Allah right now. Nothing, just
101.
listen,
Yep.
Well,
sitting
this
in his
segues
pajamas or something.
right
Doesn't
into
make
because
sense.
it segues right into the last sentence, and I think that's probably we're gonna have all time to talk about today, page 7. But the last sentence there that I have highlighted is because, like you mentioned, this is an honor even amongst prophets. What Rasul Sallallahu experienced
So,
and what Musa alayhi salam experienced is an honor even amongst prophets. Like they
Mhm.
have special status. Like we know Musa alayhi salam also as Kalam Allah,
Allah,
Kalim Allah,
yeah.
the person who spoke to Allah, right? This is a special status amongst prophets. And as Mubarak has mentioned, like Shaitan's whole goal is to get us to commit shirk. And you can kind of see the pathway that he's setting up. First, he equated the Ummah to the prophets. Then he equated saints to prophets. Now he's actually equating experiences that were with prophets to, like he says, Talibin, basically regular Muslims, may write that they saw Allah. In fact, this beholding and communication is not very different than the incident of Moses.
Stuff.
How silly is that to say that? Like, do you actually believe this? For all the people that, if you're still alive, that had these alleged experiences, or people that read this, do you actually believe this person that you were sitting next to? We're going back to the Dar, so I'm not going to try to be specific, but the person that before you became Muslim was smoking weed, drinking alcohol, pimping ladies, all these different things. Even according to the TMOA narrative, they were doing these things even after they become Muslim. And all of a sudden, now you guys go and have an experience that one of the top 5 most prophets out of the 124,000 that existed had, and has a special title for. Now you just, yeah, you get the same thing now. Come on. Seriously?
I mean, it's so it's so far fetched that, I mean, it is embarrassing.
Mm-hmm.
It's embarrassing to, I mean, like, our kids probably could read this, or it'd be read to them and be like, nah, they're not gonna believe it. I mean, how and listen, the guidance is only from Allah. I mean, there are billions of people in this world who believe things similar.
Mm-hmm.
So we can't, downplay it and think that it's just because of our own intellect or something that
Right.
Allah allowed us to see it very clearly. It's solely due to the guidance of Allah to
I
make it
mean,
very clear.
I
And so, first and foremost, we give the credit to Allah for that. But
alhamdulillah.
I mean, for those people who are listening and watching and will watch later, I mean, this stuff is very, very, very straightforward. It's clearly outside of Islam. It doesn't hold water. Even it's closer to the pagan religions and the polytheists and
Mm-hmm.
than anything else. But Islam it's nowhere near it. It's nowhere
Well,
near it.
And
they
if
had
I
a
could say
comment.
something,
Go ahead. Yep. Go ahead, Uncle.
you know, this is really for the younger generation. This book right here is the book that Sheikh Jelani brought that was supposed to be specifically for us.
Mm.
All right, just think about that. This is the book that he brought. He invited us to join him based on this book. This was a special book. Seniors look forward to getting their hands on this book. Okay, so now we're breaking this book down, and now you younger folks can see what's in it.
Mm-hmm.
It's on you now. It's on you to take this information and see how it fits into Islam.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're not going to be able to blame anybody because you're old enough to read this stuff. You see that it's not Islamic.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's totally un-Islamic. Okay, I got the book when Sheikh Jelani first came, and it was a treat just to have it because you felt like you were somebody because you had the book. Never read
Yeah.
it until now.
Mm.
Never read it until now. So I'm just saying that this is opportunity for the younger people, and I've already talked to some of the seniors. Some of them
Mm-hmm.
they ignore me. They don't want to hear it. That's okay
Right.
because everybody has to reflect on this.
Yeah.
Everybody has to reflect on this because this is what Sheikh Jelani brought. We can say that. We can just say that this is what Sheikh Jelani brought to us.
And I would even bet that if we took out if we took like 100, if we had that 100 like older members, right, that we sat them down, even though they might have got this book and believed in it when they first were brought, 40 years ago. I bet if we sat down 100 of them and told them, read it again, do you believe this? I believe the majority of them were like, well, I don't believe that. If we took, like, this is not Mubarak Jelani's book, we just said, do you believe in this? And we said, do you believe that, saint sir? Do you believe that you're equal to the prophets? No. Do you believe that, what are all the different things we go? Do you believe Allah manifests himself in the form of a handsome little boy? No. Like this they wouldn't believe in a lot of this different stuff. And when you mentioned how he came and said this book is especially for y'all, there's so many within the last couple of weeks. There's so many different things that have come up when I'm talking about Mubarak Jelani, and it just reminds me of a salesman, a used car salesman. They come to you and say, "Hey, I got this special deal for you." They make you feel exclusive. Oh, this deal is just for me. I was just talking to a brother, and he said that he was talking about, like, one of the symptoms that we have as African Americans is that we're always looking for the hookup.
Yeah.
Right? We want the hookup. Yo, your friend works at the whatever, like, yo, you got that hookup? Can I get that employee discount? Can I get this? Was what it was. He came with I got the hookup for y'all. Everybody felt exclusive, and it made them like, oh,
Yeah.
I need to get that. That's why, like, you like, oh, I got the book. I ain't read it, but I got it. I'm part of that exclusive class. This is just for us. And that's what salesmen do when they want to sell you something, is they make you feel exclusive. Everybody gets the email spam like, oh, Mubarak, we got this special deal for you that is only for you, and you have a limited time to take advantage of it.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
let me go.
yeah. You buy it in 20 minutes left, and they have the little timer that's ticking down or
Yeah.
whatever. But
Yep.
this is the thing. This is the thing you got to realize about a salesman too, is that the salesman is just trying to sell it to anyone. So before you, there was someone who they tried to sell it to.
Mhm.
It didn't work. And if we know the history of Jelani, he tried, to, you know, uh, make himself, some shake or something in other places. I heard in the UK and some other places. So
Yep.
our fathers, or just happened to be the ones that it stuck. It resonated, and it's not about shaming anyone, but at this point, it's like it's very clear. I mean, this is specifically for you. The book and the concepts and the whole belief system was
Mm-hmm.
stolen from another person. I mean, and this is one thing that's common in people who, are, salesmen. I won't say all salesmen, but the charlatan type of the snake oil salesman type.
Snake
Yeah.
oil, yeah.
Yeah, they taking whatever fits. It might not even be their own creation or concoction or their own thing, but they're like, whatever they can do to get the exchange for what they're after. They're either after money,
Yep.
power, women, or something, or a combination of all three.
Yep.
And so whatever works to get you, and that's why once they find a sucker, then they're gonna just
Yep.
keep draining them until the jig is up. Once the jig
Yeah.
is up, they bounce.
Yep.
But they just it was
It's
a
funny. I
40-year
was
run.
just dealing with it for like a salesman type situation, and I was like, just basically like, listen, I'm buying. You don't got to sell me anything. I already did the research. I was like, but I want you to give me all the deals that you give people to get them to buy. And he was like, no doubt. And he just gave me all the hookups. Like, all right, you get this, you get this, you get this. All right, let's go. Let's just run it through. Like, all right, cool. We on the same
Yeah.
page. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
There's a question for you, Unc, that says, yes, it was the hookup. I remember people acting cagey, like, no, you don't just get the book. What makes you worthy of the book? And she wants to know if you remember that sentiment or attitude surrounding the book when it first came out.
Yeah, Nisa, you 100% right about that. What's funny with me, when I got the book, it was stories about it was stories about, I'm not going to mention names at this point, but it was stories about certain people that was touched by Allah, right?
Yeah.
And they could read Urdu, and they knew Urdu, and Allah gave them this gift or whatever.
Mm.
So when we went to class, they were around the area, and I must have looked at this brother like he was like he was an angel or something. I must have looked at him in a way because I'm trying to look at this majestic,
Right.
mystical figure that I've been hearing about.
Mm-hmm.
He sends a book, and he gave it to a friend of mine. He didn't give him a book. He gave him the book to give to me. So you know how special I felt, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the point is, he it wasn't even about what was true or nothing like that. It was a feed. And I've talked to this brother since then, and we laugh about it now because he's no longer on the
Yeah.
Kool-Aid. But that's how things were at the time. It was like everybody was eager to get something to eat
Mm-hmm.
and be recognized and be a part of it. And the contents of the book never was an issue.
Mm.
It was never even important. It was about having it.
The same thing people do.
Think about that. Think about that. And I think I had a conversation with Mubarak. We were talking about the Mujaddid of the century and all that kind of stuff, right? Well, if the book is so special and Sheikh Jelani was sent for the Muslims, then why weren't the Muslims invited to it?
Mm-hmm.
How come it was only a select few?
Yep.
If it was for everybody, if he's here for everybody, how come it was closed off? These are the questions, really. And again, I'm talking to the younger people. Think about that. Why are people closed off from it? If he was so special, if he was sent by Allah to guide the Muslims, how come you can't even go to the land and pray? I mean, you know.
Yeah. Even to the point where people that had the book were told, "Go bury it.
Yeah.
Get rid of it."
Yeah.
Like, why? If it's supposed to guide people and it's all true, why are you trying to dispose of it? Why are you trying to hide it? I mean, all the signs are there, and it's, again, we keep hammering this stuff home, but again, people, TMOA people that are on the fence, people that are looking for the truth, no matter where you land, we ask you guys all to just really focus and sincerely really ask Allah when you're reciting your Fatiha during Salat, after Salat when you're making the du'as, really sincerely ask Allah to guide you to the truth. Sincerely, don't have in your mind like, guide me to TMOA, guide me to Mubarak Jelani, guide me to becoming a saint or what. No, ask Allah to guide you to the truth. And if everybody makes that dua sincerely, Allah's going to answer that dua, and you're going to start seeing the same obvious stuff that we are seeing. We'll make the dua. If what we're saying is false, we'll make dua. Allah guide us to the truth. I mean, Allah guide us to the truth. If we're preaching falsehood, Allah correct us and guide us to the truth.
But
Send
we did that. But
guide us.
we did that in the dunya.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay, Allah hear you when you're in the dunya too.
Mm-hmm.
And we did that in the dunya when we were smoking weed and drinking and using narcotics and almost dying. And we asked Allah to save us. He saved us. We did that in the dunya and he heard us, right? Y'all don't know nothing about that because y'all was born Muslim. But the point I'm making is the dunya that we came from, okay, is like the dunya that the Sahabas came from.
Yeah.
All right, I ain't trying to get wound up. I see them.
No.
I ain't trying to get wound up. But the point I'm making is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saved the Sahaba from the dunya. He saved us from the dunya. And now we're right back to where are we right now?
Yeah.
It's like Allah took us from the brink of the fire and brought us to his deen.
Yeah.
And it's like we're running back out there.
Just one thing I wanted to mention that when Hassana mentioned, she mentioned I remember being terribly confused by this as a child, and then it sparked a thought of mine, is that it kind of connects to the brother Mukmin who was kind of trolling us on social media or whatever. He's like known for a guy that gives dawah like to like Christians and stuff, right? Or even other TM that give dawah to Christians. And if we gave this book to a Christian to read, and then you tried to give them dawah to Islam, you would have no argument against them whatsoever. You would lose on every. They would be able to justify every single one of their beliefs. Are you when you say, "Oh, Jesus isn't God," they'd be like, "Well, how not? He's a manifestation of a God on this earth. He's the
Mhm.
manifestation of God. What do you mean? You guys believe the same thing we do."
I mean, if they can believe that he could be a man, then if you're believing that he could be a beardless boy, I mean, I mean, it's the same. There's no difference in your beliefs. There's no difference. It's unfortunate, man. It's actually pretty sad, man.
Yeah, I mean, so we're gonna wrap it up here. Or we're gonna cover the hadith.
Yeah.
Or do we? So which
Yeah,
hadith
yeah,
are we going
I
over?
got it right here. I got it right here, and it's I'll read it and give it just a slight commentary on why I feel like this fits in at this
Hmm.
point at this juncture, and then you can you can take it from there, and if anybody has anything, then we can close. So I'm just gonna read
Okay,
this, give my little say, and then I'll let y'all
gotcha.
take it from there. But
Mhm.
so this is in Arba'in and Nawawi also, and says on authority of Nawas bin Sam'an radhiallahu anhu that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Righteousness is in good character, and wrongdoing is that which wavers in your soul, and which you dislike people finding out about." So listen, wrongdoing is that which wavers in your soul and which you dislike people finding out about.
Mm.
And then another variation of the hadith or continuation of it goes on to say, and on the authority of Wabisa bin Ma'bad, anhu, who said, "I came to the Messenger of Allah, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, you have come to ask about righteousness." I said, "Yes." Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Consult your heart. Righteousness is that about which the soul feels at ease, the heart feels tranquil, and wrongdoing is that which wavers in the soul and causes uneasiness in the breast, even though people have repeatedly given their legal opinion in its favor."
Mm.
So why am I mentioning this? Two things. When Rasulullah said wrongdoing is that which wavers in your soul and which you dislike people finding out about. What's one of the main tenets of TMOA? Don't tell people about it. We're talking
Yes.
about one of the brothers and one of the founding fathers or early members got in trouble for doing what? Telling people about his sheikh.
Mm-hmm.
Telling people about him, number one. So the thing is, the truth and righteousness is like, it's open. It's not there. There's no secrecy to it. There's no sliminess to it. There's no like that that slippery feeling to it. It's very
Yeah.
clear. But wrongdoing has that characteristic. You
Mm-hmm.
really don't want people to know.
Yeah.
It's like, and so that's one of the things about TMOA. A lot of the beliefs, they will not speak them to other people. They will not really make it be known. And that's one thing that you know that it's wrong.
Mm.
That's one indication that you can know that it's wrong. And for the wavering in your chest, we have had founding fathers and these elders who have actually sought help from people to find proof for disbeliefs, because
Yes.
it's wavering in your soul. You don't feel comfortable that you know and believe in it, so you're
Mm-hmm.
trying to find it there. This is where a lot of people at, in which this belief system, the whole concept, is wavering in their soul right now, and
Mm.
they are, and that's why even for the person to ask a question, they are pounded down, thrown out. You like a post or anything like that, it's like you're reprimanded and quickly silenced and put out. Why? Because this thing is starting to have that effect where you're unsure. Some of the questions you're asking, I'm sure you've had it for a while. This thing,
Mm-hmm.
we all went through it. It started to waver in my own heart. And my own soul thinking, this doesn't, it didn't sit right. A lot of the things I was hearing, I could never really believe in it. And then once I saw the truth and saw what Allah and His Messenger said about things, it was very clear. It's
Mm-hmm.
not righteousness. It's not correct. So Rasul Sallam is telling you about how the things that you don't want people find out about, it's not righteousness. It's not going to be righteousness. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
even if, for instance, you and I know I said we're going to talk long, but even if you know, some people give charity in secret, because I can hear the detractors say, well, no, you do things in secret. You do
Yeah.
righteousness in secret. I
Right.
don't want no. But listen, if someone happened to find you praying tahajjud, at 3 a.m., you're not gonna be like, oh man,
So,
you're not gonna
yeah.
be embarrassed about it. You're gonna be like, all right, you saw me or whatever, but
Yeah.
you're not gonna go tell people about it. If someone secretly found out that you were giving millions of dollars in charity, you're not gonna be like, embarrassed about it. You're gonna be like, well, I was trying to keep it secret, but hey, you found out.
Yeah.
You're not gonna tell nobody. This is different. You don't want anyone to know that you believe your sheikh talks to Allah.
Mm-hmm.
You don't really want anyone to know that you believe that you have a female imam that also says that Rasul came and talked to them directly
That's all.
and invited and told her she's part of the family. You won't say it
Yeah.
out loud in the masjid. Go to the local masjid in the nearest city and say it out loud. You
Yeah.
won't do it.
Mm-hmm.
You will not do it. So I
It,
don't want to get
no,
found up, but that's the way I got.
it's
Yeah,
and like you can keep going with that, because like go to all the hospitals and AIDS treatment centers and say our sheikh said he can cure AIDS. They put an ad in the Islamic Post. Go tell everybody that. Go tell everybody about the belief in the seven sultans. Go tell the all the go tell all the Jewish people in the world that you believe they're part of this Zionist conspiracy to destroy Islam. All these beliefs that you guys are now putting away. Oh, don't put that discourse out there. Don't put that out there. We're the peaceful. Go tell people how you have founding fathers that used to go around and blow crap up and kill people because you thought you guys were fighting some jihad or whatever.
Mhm.
Like, no, you won't do it. And it plays
Yeah.
back to what Uncle Abdul Azim was saying about how why'd you only print a few copies? Why after the fact are you telling people to get rid of them, hide them, bury them, and all these different things? You're hiding something. You don't want people to know this. Like the hadith says, it wavers in your soul. I was talking to an individual, and a lot of people in TMOA take this position, right? And we've mentioned it before. Like Islam, the beauty of Islam is that when Allah gives you the guidance, and this is the thing, like when people want to say like, oh, I want to talk to Allah, like you want Allah is communicating to you through guidance, and He's making certain things waver in your soul. And I used to, in my own comprehension of that, I would say I used to ignore what Allah was showing me. Just ignore it. Put it in the back of my head, knowing things are wrong. Oh, whatever. It's not affecting me. It doesn't affect my daily life. I'm just going to keep on. But there's a point that you have to ask yourself: am I going to keep on ignoring the signs that Allah is giving me, or am I actually going to? Okay, what does this mean? Let me find the answer. Once I got to the point of like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna follow this path that Allah is showing me. It becomes very clear. Islam is so clear and so easy. It's that's the beauty of it. This like Hassan said out, they were confused as a child. Many Christians, Catholics, or people from other religions, they come straight to Islam because they're like, it's so simple and direct. It's so it's because they come from like trying to understand the Trinity and how that works and how they have to confess to priests. Why can't I just talk to God? All these different they try to explain it. It just confuses their followers. Then they come to Islam. It's like, nope, one God. He sent messengers to guide us. Follow what God said. Very simple. So you have these people in TMOA or people that even leave TMOA, leave the belief set that they fool themselves, right? Because they will say things like, for me, I personally don't believe in the seven sultans. However, I am what those I don't want to use the exact words. I don't want to put the person on the spot, but those what they're essentially saying is it's possible that it could be true and there's other versions or other beliefs of Islam. What you're saying is that you are not confident in your belief in Islam. Your iman in Islam is low because I believe it was I forget which scholar it was. So I'm not going to say name, but one of the scholars, there was someone who came to try to debate them, right? And they came and they were saying all these different things, and there was a certain point when they asked them, it was like, so what questions do you have for me? And he said, I don't have any questions for you. I know my deen. Like I don't need nothing from you. I know my religion. So if you don't know enough about your religion, right, your deen, the guidance that Allah has given you, that you can't say without a shadow of a doubt, when you read Rasal Ruhi, when you read some of the things in these books, and you can say, yo, that's shirk, yo, that's not Islam, then you still have more steps to take in learning your deen and following the signs that Allah has shown you. Because when you're having doubt, when you're giving credence to another belief, you actually have doubt in your own belief. That means it's wavering in your heart, right? You will not hear, well, I mean, I'm not going to say no Muslim, but you won't hear me say, for instance, I believe in Islam for me, but Christians, they might have some kind of justification. No, I'm gonna say Buddhists are wrong. I'm gonna say Jewish people are wrong. I'm gonna say all the different things that's not clear Islam, Tawheed, following the Quran and Sunnah. I'm gonna say that's wrong, and we all got to get to that point. And may Allah get us to that point and
I mean,
continue to keep us on that
Amen.
point and have us
mm,
die upon that we're
Amen.
following what He gives us. Again, people, do not ignore Allah. When something's wavering in your heart, we know the other hadith that ties into this, that when something's wavering in your heart, is causing doubt. What does Rasulullah say? Stay away from it, right? Islam is very clear. It's very, very clear. You cannot go in TMOA. They're now they're progressing along this path because the Seven Sultan is the foundation of TMOA belief. We all know this, but now they're at the point where, like, okay, well, you don't really have to believe it, but don't speak against it. Wavering in your heart, you're now acknowledging that, okay, it's not absolutely true. You now just acknowledge that. Two, okay, if it's something we don't have to believe, how is our Jamaat even exist if this is something that we don't have to believe? This is the foundation of TMWA. Then people will say, well, I was never really taught this, or that, yeah, you weren't taught this because it was something that they were ashamed for people to find out. Right, but you still sang it in your songs. You still claimed on the discourses. This is the sixth Sultan of Fitrah, whatever you guys talk about him. You guys still claim it. So yeah, you were taught it. You just weren't taught the specifics, because the specifics is the stuff that they wanted to hide from you. They wanted to keep behind closed doors. The stuff they were ashamed about, because it is clear shirk. It is clear anti-Islamic. It is no source from the Quran and Sunnah. And if we were brought up on a solid foundation of Islam is what Allah said and what Rasulullah said, if we were brought up in that foundation, none of this stuff would fly. Would be no Mubarak Jelani. There would be no fighting over inheritance. There would be no enriching a family to be multimillionaires. There would be none of that. You would have, Allah knows best, you would have a solid, you'd have the strongest Muslim, not just African American Muslim, American Muslim organization, community in the United States right here today. And it's really sad when you think about it. It's really, really, really sad. But Allah's the best of planners, and it's not too late. It's not too late for any of us. We're still breathing. We can still take those steps.
Amen.
Amen.
Well, I just ranted, so I'm not closing this out.
I got it.
All right.
So sure do it. So thank everyone for attending. We'll be back inshallah next week to cover pages 8 and 9 inshallah, and then we'll have a special show inshallah for page 10.
Page
That
10
page
is
page
Page
10.
10. What's on page 10?
Lots of things on. Lots
You
of things
gotta get a
on
little
page
hint
10.
or something.
You gotta tune in. You gotta tune in.
Yeah, but see, y'all snuck this show tonight. I ain't nobody know about the show tonight.
Oh,
y'all know that, right?
So everybody, we're going every week, every Thursday, inshallah.
Every Thursday, cover the Black Book, inshallah.
Yeah, so we'll let you know if we don't do a show.
Yeah.
But every Thursday we're gonna try to do at least an hour, inshallah, and try to cover as much of the book as we can. Until we're done.
I mean, so yeah, just listen, just be be ready for page 10. Don't miss it. Don't miss it.
Page 10. Everybody page in for.
Yeah,
you can
yeah,
go.
inshallah.
You can go get a preview. Go hit the links. and read page 10 for yourself. But it's gonna be.
No, I already did. I already know. That's what I'm saying. And I'm glad y'all gave me that look because I was getting ready to go off. I was. But that's okay because there's a whole lot to cover.
Alhamdulillah,
Yes, alhamdulillah.
inshallah, yeah, I think that's it. We don't have any questions in the chat, so I think we're good. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون والسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين آمين السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.